Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de whether I'd go to the touristy town of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Shorts to PV, doesn't it? Which just reminds me of page views. Oh boy, I'm really revealing my work history, aren't I? Hey, XenPuck here. It's my favorite clip of the week because it's Mr. Fluffy time. Another day, I'm gonna go over yet another beach town. Oh yeah, you'd think I learned how to swim or something, but alas, I have not. Not even a wee bit. But I am starting to really warm up to the idea of beach towns, seriously. So today I want to review one of the beach towns that was almost one of my options to geographically arbitrage in way back when I was trying to decide on a place to run away to after running. Ooh, oh, I'm sorry, Poopy. Oh, my kitty was mad at me. I'm sorry. Oh, I don't know. I try not to swallow him today. Maybe he's not taking it as well. Oh, let's see if he gets mad again. This is our short clip. Okay. So, honestly, that was about almost 5 years ago. Close to when I was gonna call it quits. I considered Mexico, or more specifically Puerto Vallarta, because it maintained distance from my mom and pop, and it seemed like a real chill place. Okay, I mean, I love ocean views more than the possibility of swimming, aka drowning, for me right now. I admit to the power of the vastness of nature present in all blue ocean views. Right. Ultimately, of course, I didn't decide on a beachy town, much less a farm beachy town. Because of my more practical tendencies, right? But the resurgence of my interest in them is here because of my wifey, right? She mentally marks these places as places of retreat and rejuvenation, and I'm happy to oblige. After all, that's what I love about having a great partner in life, right? She makes me do things that I wouldn't have normally thought of. Isn't that a treat? Okay, on to our usual criteria-based breakdown. Okay, location. I read somewhere that the Pacific Coast beaches are actually quite a bit cooler than Atlantic beaches at the same latitude. So many beaches north of LA would actually have somewhat surprisingly cold water, which sucks. Who wants that, right? I mean, obviously, I'm not a surfer and I would hate a wetsuit, so I'd say warm water is a preference, if not a must, right? So Puerto Vallarta's location seems extremely good for that kind of perfect temperature for beachwear, but not without the tension of a water sports type of situation, right? Of course, I'm just speculating, but the geography looks about right. Oh, and I believe one major concern in terms of location, other than water temperature, is just safety, right? Because PV is so far from the US-Mexico border and a well-established tourist town, I'd imagine that all that real-world drug trafficking type of crimes will be far from this area. And a quick Google search pretty much confirms this. I mean, I've only been to Tijuana in Mexico so far, and that city has a way, way different type of reputation than Puerto Vallarta, right? So I think a PV visit would let me see some more of a less negatively biased part of Mexico, generally speaking. Okay. Now, on the food part, honestly, having lived in California for a couple of years, I usually tell people that I'm actually somewhat ambivalent towards Mexican food, at least Mexican food that I can find in the US. By that, I just means that, there are some Americans who proclaim to love Mexican food, and that's not quite me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like it just fine, but I've yet to have any Mexican food that I honestly crave. Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong, Cookie? Why are you so mad today? Why are you so mad? Oh, poor kitty. Okay. But Puerto Vallarta is in an area of Mexico that's much more further in than the coastal cities, so I've read enough about the country to know that all Mexican regions have their own thing going on, culinarily speaking. So I'll try to keep my mind open, be ready, and be pleasantly surprised, right? I'll put in the usual disclaimer here, of course, which is that this is a beach town and a tourist town, so I doubt I'll be hard-pressed to find something that I like. I mean, who doesn't like seafood, right? Oh wait, my wifey, but that's her loss. Okay. Now, in terms of attractions, honestly, I looked these up and it's pretty standard tourist town fare. Okay, I'm looking to be surprised by things like their historical district and some of the more religious buildings. I think there's like a famous cross somewhere in town. Mostly because I don't really know that much about the history of Mexico, especially how they compare to the parallel years in American history, right? So I do look forward to touring on those fronts. But honestly, since we're in a beach town for my wifey's sake, I would imagine mainly we'd be spending our time on the boardwalk, going to see some nightlife, checking out the beach, or just hanging out by the hotel pool. Yeah, I know that last bit is extremely strange to me as a tourist, but that's what my wifey likes to do, and I mean, hey, I can't complain since I refuse to spring for an in-ground pool at our house. Shh. I mean, I just don't think it's ever a reasonable financial decision, right? So if I have to fly her out to a handful of beach vacations per year to get around and getting a real pool at our house, I will. Okay, so X Factor, since it is a beach town, I'm gonna have to compare it to, other beach towns, right? But since I'm really quite inexperienced in beach towns up until this point in my life, right now all I can think of is, like, how does it compare to the beaches of the Gulf Coast that I would have seen more recently, right? And I guess also comparing it to Atlantic beaches of my much, much younger years. And finally, what are the realistic chances of us going? I'd put this one at a very, very good chance. I mean, it's not that far of a flight, but then again, if we're comparing distances, pretty much I think all the famous Mexican beaches and even Caribbean islands or Florida enclaves are more or less the same, not too distant distances from where we are in Texas anyway. So I imagine since my wifey likes beachy getaways, we'd hit them all at some point, right? Because they're all, I think, 3 or 4 hour flight, well within those regions, right? No pressure on how soon though, so finger crossed that the pandemic just fades into a crappy cold-like annoyance already. Seriously, go away. We want to be jet-setters in our early retirement, okay? Now I'm blaming you, stupid Mother Earth. Just die already. Okay, anyway, comment, like, and subscribe or whatever. What's your favorite beach town in North America? Or even, I take any suggestions all the way down to Latin America, okay? Cheers, a la prochaine.